Have you ever had a woman who stood by you through your worst days, but you didn't truly realize what she meant until she was gone? Yeah, that kind of silence after losing someone loyal? It echoes, and most men miss the signs, not because they're careless, but because real loyalty doesn't scream, it whispers. Before we dive in, if you've ever been heartbroken, misled, or still wondering if that one woman was the one you let slip away, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, this video might just shift your love life in a way you never saw coming. And stick around until the end, because the last sign is the rarest, and it's one most men never see coming, until it's too late. You see, in today's world, we glorify beauty, status, attraction, but we forget to value the kind of woman who stays when everything around you falls apart. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Now imagine a woman who chooses to walk beside you, not because of your success, not because of your charm, but because she sees your soul. That's loyalty. That's rare, and that's who this video is about. Sign 1. She defends you when you're not around. Have you ever wondered what she says about you when you're not in the room? It's a strange thought, isn't it? You imagine her laughing with her friends, talking about memories you two made. But have you ever asked yourself, does she protect your name when others question it? Julian never did. He thought he was just another chapter in her story, but he didn't know the truth until months later, when a mutual friend slipped and told him something that stopped him cold. It was during the early stages of their relationship. Julian wasn't perfect. He was still figuring life out, taking risks, making bold choices that didn't always make sense to others. People gossiped, said he was too ambitious, said he'd probably break her heart. But Maya didn't stay silent. She looked them dead in the eye and said, "You don't know him like I do. He's not just a dreamer, he's a doer. And I believe in him." She said that without Julian ever knowing. She never told him, never used it for points or praise, because loyalty doesn't need an audience. It just needs love. Now pause for a second. Has there ever been a woman in your life who spoke up for you when you weren't around to hear it? Maybe she defended your choices when others called them stupid. Maybe she told her friends to back off when they mocked you. Maybe she looked at someone and said, "Don't talk about him like that." If she did, that's not just love. That's honor, and honor is rare. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." A loyal woman lives by that. She guards your name like it's sacred because to her it is. She doesn't join in the gossip. She doesn't let others reduce you. Even when you mess up, even when you're at your lowest, she holds space for your potential, not just your past. So I want you to think, really think, did she ever fight for your reputation in your absence? Because if she did, that was a woman who saw more in you than even you saw in yourself. And if you had her and let her go, ask yourself why. Why did you miss the quiet strength in her voice? Why didn't you see that loyalty sometimes wears the softest armor? Most men ignore this sign. They think it doesn't matter what she says when she's with her friends, her family, or her co-workers. But it matters more than you know. Because when she protects your name without applause, she's already married her soul to your story. And if you've ever had that kind of woman, don't just remember her, honor her, because that kind of loyalty is lightning in human form, and most men only see it clearly when it's too late. Sign 2. She chooses you over attention. Have you ever been with a woman who didn't need the whole world to see her because she was too busy seeing you? Think about that for a second. In a world where validation is a drug, where people post more than they feel, share more than they live, there exists a rare kind of woman. A woman who could have had 1,000 eyes on her, but she chose to keep her focus on you. Julian had that woman. Her name was Maya. She was beautiful, not just physically, but in the kind of way that made people stop and stare. She'd walk into a room, and attention would follow like shadows chase the sun. But she never craved it. She wasn't constantly uploading thirst traps. She didn't flirt to feed her ego. She didn't have backup guys hanging around just in case. She only wanted him. He was her world, even when the world was watching her. Julian didn't realize how rare that was until it was gone. You see, there was a time he mistook her calm for indifference. He thought her lack of social media posts meant she didn't care. But he didn't see the loyalty in her silence. While others were chasing clout, Maya was choosing presence. While others needed likes, she needed his attention. While others collected admirers, she only wanted his eyes. Now I want to ask you, man to man, have you had a woman like that? One who could have had the world but chose to build her world with you? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And that's how a loyal woman thinks. She doesn't need to parade your love online to feel loved. She doesn't crave attention when she already has connection. She'll dress up for you. She'll light up when she sees your name pop up. She'll smile when you laugh, even when no one else sees it. You want to know how Julian finally saw the truth? It was months later, when he was dating someone new, someone who needed constant compliments, attention from strangers, validation from men she didn't even care about. And in the middle of all that noise, he remembered the peace of Maya, the peace of being enough for someone. So again, think back. Did you have someone who didn't just choose you once, but chose you every day, quietly, consistently, without a need for applause? If you did, don't take that lightly. Because that kind of loyalty, choosing one man's heart over 100 eyes, is something most men never find twice. Sign 3. She shows genuine interest in your life and goals. Have you ever been with a woman who genuinely cared about your dreams, your goals, and the things that light you up inside? I'm not talking about the kind of interest that comes from being supportive in the moment or saying the right words when you talk about your ambitions. I'm talking about the deep, consistent involvement in your life. Someone who not only listens when you share your dreams, but actively wants to be a part of them. Let me tell you a story about Julian, one of my close friends, who learned just how rare this kind of loyalty is. Julian had always been a driven guy. He was ambitious, focused on his career, and had big plans for the future. He wanted to start his own business, but it was a massive undertaking. Long nights, countless hours of research, and a never-ending list of things to do. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to make it happen. And then there was Maya, his girlfriend. In the beginning, Julian didn't think much of it. She supported him, of course. She said all the right things like, "I'm proud of you and you can do it." But as time passed, he started noticing something different about Maya. It wasn't just that she offered words of encouragement, she engaged with his goals. She didn't just pat him on the back, she got involved in his vision. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Maya asked him about his business plans again. But this time she wasn't just asking to be polite. She was asking because she genuinely wanted to understand where he was at. "Hey," Maya said, "you mentioned earlier that you're thinking of launching the website next month. Have you considered doing a series of blog posts for your target audience? I think it could really help you get more attention." Julian was taken aback. This wasn't the first time she'd mentioned ideas like this, but it was the first time he realized just how deeply invested she was in his dreams. "You're right," Julian said, smiling. "I've been so focused on the back-end stuff, I haven't even thought about that yet. Thanks for bringing it up." But Maya wasn't done. "I've been doing some research on SEO too. Maybe we can work on it together. I know a few things that might help drive traffic." Julian was stunned. She wasn't just offering support, she was offering her time, her energy, and her brain power to help him succeed. She didn't have to do that. She didn't need to get involved in the technical side of his business, but she wanted to. She cared about his goals as much as he did, and that made all the difference. Have you ever had a woman like that? One who doesn't just say, "I support you," but shows it through action? Someone who takes the time to understand what drives you, what you're working for, and then gets personally invested in it. That's not something you find every day, and it's a sign of deep loyalty. Because loyalty isn't just about being there during the good times. It's about being willing to step up, to get involved in the things that matter most to you, and to help you achieve your dreams no matter how big or small. In a relationship, this kind of involvement isn't just a sign of love, it's a sign of a shared future. When a woman takes the time to understand your goals and actively seeks ways to support you, she's showing that she's not just in it for the ride, she's in it for the long haul, ready to build something with you. So I ask you again, have you ever had a woman who didn't just listen to your dreams, but genuinely took an interest in them? Who didn't just offer empty words, but offered action, ideas, support, and a real desire to see you succeed? If you've had that, consider yourself lucky, because that kind of loyalty is rare and it's something worth holding on to. Sign 4. She communicates with you openly even when it's hard. Have you ever been with someone who was willing to tell you the truth? Even when it wasn't easy? Even when it could have hurt you? That's a rare thing, isn't it? But it's one of the most powerful signs of loyalty that a woman can show. It's easy to stay silent or avoid tough conversations, but a woman who is willing to be honest with you, no matter the circumstances, is someone who genuinely cares about you and the future of your relationship. Julian, a good friend of mine, learned this lesson in the most unexpected way. It was a Friday evening and Julian had just wrapped up a stressful week at work. He was looking forward to unwinding and spending time with Maya, his girlfriend. They had been together for over a year, and he thought they were in a good place until something happened that made him realize how much he had been taking her for granted. Maya had been distant lately. At first, Julian didn't notice it. After all, he had his own stress to deal with. But over time, her quietness became impossible to ignore. She wasn't angry. She wasn't distant in a typical silent treatment kind of way. But there was something in her eyes that made him uneasy. One night, as they sat on the couch together, Maya turned to him and said, "I think we need to talk." Now, most of us would feel a wave of panic when those words are said. "We need to talk" often signals that something is wrong. Julian's stomach sank as he braced himself for what was coming. But instead of preparing for a blowout fight, Maya said something that completely shifted his perspective on their relationship. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she began, looking him straight in the eyes. "And I realized I haven't been speaking up as much as I should. I've been holding back because I didn't want to hurt you, but it's been building up inside." Julian felt his heart race. He didn't know what was coming next, but he knew it wasn't going to be easy. Maya continued, "I've felt like we've been drifting apart. I've been doing a lot of the emotional labor in this relationship. I've been putting in all the effort to keep things going, while you've been so caught up in your own world that you haven't really seen what I've been needing. And I need you to hear me, because I don't want to keep pretending everything is fine when it's not." Julian was stunned. His first instinct was to get defensive, to explain why he had been so busy, to make excuses for why he hadn't been there as much. But Maya stopped him. "I'm not blaming you. I know you've been under pressure, but I need to tell you how I've been feeling, because if I don't, it will only get worse." That's when Julian realized just how rare this moment was. Instead of pointing fingers or accusing him, Maya was being honest. She wasn't trying to protect him from the truth. She wasn't trying to sugarcoat her feelings to keep the peace. She was communicating with him openly, even when it was hard. Have you ever had a woman like that? Someone who would sit down with you, heart open, and tell you exactly how they were feeling, no filters, no games, just honesty? That's a sign of deep emotional maturity, and even deeper loyalty. Because here's the thing. When a woman is willing to speak her mind openly and share what's truly on her heart, she's showing you that she cares enough to make the relationship better. She's not hiding behind silence. She's not letting resentment build up. She's taking the chance to be vulnerable, even if it's uncomfortable. And you know what? Julian's heart swelled with admiration for Maya. She wasn't afraid to tell him the truth, and in doing so, she had given him the chance to make things right. That's what real loyalty looks like. It's not about keeping everything bottled up or pretending everything is okay. It's about saying, "This is how I feel and I trust you enough to let you in." So I want to ask you, have you ever had someone communicate with you this way? Someone who didn't hide behind silence or try to protect you from hard truths? Someone who was willing to open up and tell you the things that could make or break your relationship? If you have, you know that's a woman who's truly invested in you. And if you don't have someone like that in your life right now, you'll know exactly what to look for next time. Sign 5. She takes responsibility for her actions. Have you ever been with a woman who didn't just point the finger when things went wrong, but instead took responsibility for her own actions, even when it wasn't easy? You see, a lot of us have been in relationships where things don't go according to plan, and it's easy to slip into the trap of blaming each other. Sometimes we let our egos take the lead and make everything about who's right and who's wrong. But there's something incredibly rare and powerful about a woman who can step back, look at the situation honestly, and admit when she's made a mistake, without deflecting, without hiding behind excuses. Julian learned this lesson the hard way. He had always prided himself on being a fixer, someone who could solve problems and make things better. But when he was in a relationship with Maya, He wasn't as attentive as he should have been. In the beginning, things were perfect. He was ambitious, driven, focused on his goals, and he thought Maya understood. But after a while, he started to slip. He was no longer as present, no longer as considerate. He got lost in the chaos of his work and forgot about the little things that made their relationship strong. And Maya, she noticed, but she didn't immediately lash out. She didn't get angry or play the victim. Instead, she quietly pulled away, and Julian, distracted by everything else, didn't even notice at first. It wasn't until things started to unravel that he realized what was happening. One evening after a long day, Maya asked him to talk. Julian was nervous because he knew something was off, but he didn't know how deep it went. She sat across from him, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. "I've been thinking a lot," Maya began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I know you've been busy with your work and your goals, and I understand that, but I can't keep pretending that it's okay." Julian felt his stomach drop. He wasn't ready to hear what she was about to say. "What do you mean?" he asked, barely able to keep the panic out of his voice. Maya didn't immediately dive into accusations. She wasn't yelling, nor was she blaming him. Instead, she said, "I've been feeling invisible, like I'm just here for you to fall back on. But you don't see me anymore. You're so focused on your own stuff, and I've been waiting for you to notice. But instead of saying something sooner, I've just been letting it eat at me." Julian felt a knot tighten in his chest. This was the moment he'd been afraid of. But what happened next completely shifted his understanding of loyalty. Maya continued, "But I also have to take responsibility. I should have told you how I felt sooner. I shouldn't have waited until I was hurt. I didn't speak up and I let things build up inside. That was it." Julian couldn't believe it. Here she was, acknowledging her own fault in all of this. Maya wasn't trying to protect herself or avoid confrontation. She was owning her part in the situation. Do you know how rare that is? It's easy to blame someone else when things aren't going right. But how many people do you know who can take a step back and say, "You know what? I didn't communicate. I should have said something sooner." Maya wasn't perfect. None of us are. But in that moment, she showed Julian what real loyalty looked like. She wasn't just pointing fingers or playing the blame game. She wasn't looking for a fight. She was looking for a solution. She wanted to fix things, not just blame the situation. So I want to ask you, have you ever been with a woman who did this? One who was brave enough to admit when she was wrong, when she could have easily stayed silent or blamed you? It takes real strength, real maturity, to take responsibility for your own actions, especially in a relationship. It's easy to act like everything is someone else's fault, but a woman who owns up to her mistakes and is willing to grow alongside you, that's the woman who's showing you she's in this for the long haul. When Maya took responsibility, it wasn't just about her. It was about her commitment to their relationship. It was about her desire to be better, to not let things fester and tear them apart. So I ask you again, have you had someone like that? A woman who didn't just sweep things under the rug, but confronted them head on, even when it was uncomfortable? If you've experienced that kind of loyalty, then you know how rare and precious it is. And if you're lucky enough to have someone like that in your life, don't take it for granted. Too many men search for the next thrill and ignore the quiet loyalty standing right in front of them. But as Marcus Aurelius taught, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to love, to be loved. So ask yourself, have you ever had that kind of woman? One who defends you, chooses you, challenges you, supports you, and stays? If so, don't wait until she's gone to recognize her. Because loyalty is a silent gift. You either honor it or you lose it. And that, my friend, makes all the difference in a man's love life. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.